May 23rd, 2022. Whatever I was trying to fight off yesterday's gotten worse today. But it's again, I'm not a hypochondriac. It's more, Lynn calls it a head cold. And the naturally occurring whatever, the pollen is, I've had seasons where whatever's in the air causes, they call it an allergic reaction. It's an inflammation. It's rhino related. It's like sinusitis, something like that. And then it goes into the back of the throat. They call it a common cold. Again, it's common area. So and as much as you try to stay in social isolation so you don't catch like something serious, it's just lingering in the air. It's in the food. It's just whatever. I took, because Lynn came up this morning, she riled Lou all up. Really pisses me off. It's like, if you want to have a subject to go talk about, whatever, but like to get Lou all riled up, so he comes up here with a mask on and gloves. I'm like, idiots. I'm like, I don't even have a fever. I was like, it's not COVID. I know it's not COVID. It feels like seasonal allergies. It's May. It's May into June. Like, relax yourself. With all of these medical, like, equipment, like, uses for no reason. It pisses me off. I'm like, you know how much waste that is? So Lynn insisted that I take a COVID test, which I did. So did Nucci, because he's home from school today. Both of us tested negative. No shit, Sherlock. So whatever. So that's what's going on in a personal medical dilemma. It's just, I don't know. At this point, this part, as annoying and aggravating as it is, it's just par for the course. This is a lot better than having the electrocuting shocks through the fluid in my joints. And some of the other things I've been subjected to while just trying to survive here in New York. Today on CBS this morning, there's two programs that I'll toggle back and forth with, but the synopsis for this morning is apparently, they're telling me that by now, which it's May 23rd, 2022, but I don't know his real schedule, but they have a footage of him in Japan with the Prime Minister, and at the aerospace time is 03:23. Oh, and the program number is E101. So E101 at 03:23, Biden says U.S. will defend Taiwan. It also said President sends stark warning to China about Taiwan military invasion. It goes to that, and then I'm going to jump around to there is some hepatitis outbreak mystery going on with a little girl. I know it happens in other parts, but and her sister little kids wound up dying. Now I've had where when Benjamin was born, he was born with jaundice and some kind of liver, whatever, which he grew out of. Same thing with Daniel. And so then they also, and that's at 1.02.33. Then the story just previous to that is about J.M. Smuckers, the Jif peanut butter they recall after salmonella fears, which goes to food poisoning. There's I don't know how the food recalls work. I don't know who reports it, who calls it in, how they find it. again, I don't know people or process, which is why I stick to the verb. I don't really get too pronounced into the nouns unless they provide a noun that then gets pronounced only because it's a reference, and then I give the visual reference from which the source. But then it goes from the food poisoning bit. I'm gonna go back to the CDC and monkeypox that they're mentioning, because that's more viral. And actually, they show an electron microscope section where you can actually see the polypeptides, like inside of the cell, where they're just strung like bath beads in string, like ready to break through the shell after it finds a host. And it's really frightening. I mean, I have a little bit more education than most in that field. So by visual acuity, to see it so pronounced, it's, and whatever. Then it goes to, there's something going on with a Georgia midterm election. I don't know what that actually means. I don't have access. I don't know. I don't have access to campaign information. I mean, I don't even know how these Americans or these U.S. people are running campaigns. I don't know what platform they run off of. I mean, they've withheld all of that. But yet they hold these midterm elections. I don't have access to them, even in New York. I don't have copies of their schedules. I don't know what's on their agendas. I don't know how they're campaigning. I don't know what they're pushing for. All of that's been withheld. And then they bring up a mention of a payphone being removed in Midtown at 7th Avenue and 50th Street. It's the last payphone in Manhattan. That's at an aerospace time of 18:30. And right above the payphone, it says Titan, Titan, which frightens me for Greek reference, which I'm unclear about because they don't teach that here. But more so, yesterday on the Infinity Wars, they mentioned Titan in there, and I didn't finish the movie because, again, I have to slow it down to a pace because there's so much symbology and reference from the real world in the movie. I pace myself to digest it like a meal almost, because there's so many verbal cues and visual cues that I'm finding I need just to get through the morning, like, headlines. So that's 6, where's 7? And then it goes to a poll. Now, this is the first time I've heard them do a poll where they spoke negatively about America, which is more my version of America that I've been experiencing. Normally, they blow smoke out of the forecasters or the reporters' spouts about how wonderful America is and the economy. We're not going to hit recession. All these words that mean nothing. Because I haven't had the same opportunities as the people who apparently take these polls and surveys. I don't even have access to a poll or a pollster or service company. I mean, they don't even, not only did they steer me pretty much like, if I was a car on the road, it's like they had a semi-automatic truck, like a 18-wheeler, come and run me off into a ditch where I've been waiting for four decades for something to come up and go, no, like, you're not alone. We know there's stuff going on. Like, we want to help. Like, that would have been nice, roadside assistance. I haven't Again, I don't know where talent acquisition and managers are, but it's been a real struggle to try to, like, I don't even know what they call themselves, or where to look. So as I'm just sitting here in the ditch, they don't ask questions. They only seem to poll themselves in this bread and circus, and then they inflate the results into this misleading category. But that's not what people are actually living, and that's not what they're experiencing. At least it's not what I've experienced, or Linda and Lou. And then it goes to, so they said that 70% of Americans are struggling right now. So I have that on a chart. Then there's some source reference to that. Then they displayed a commercial I've never seen before. They say this word yeshiva across New York was the headline, which caught my attention because I don't know what a yeshiva is. Again, being so isolated, I don't know. I don't know the word. I don't know who qualifies for it. But then it says ultra orthodox. Now that I know I qualify for, because I don't like doing things unless they're explained to me and somebody recognizes and comes to speak to me face to face. For me, that's what orthodox is. You're not just going to take somebody else's word for it, somebody in your community. Except they've shunned us out of community, or we've been run off the American road into some ditch, which I can't figure out why. So I can't find other Orthodox people to ask for help. I don't know how they congregate. Then it says another word I've heard before, Hasidic, which I've seen. They have a very distinct community look, but I was born outside of what I've seen them reference as. So again, out of respect, I don't know how that works. But I know that they exist in New York. I just don't know where or how. And then then it gives this yaffed.org, yaffed.org. But that's pushing me back onto these computers again that I don't want to be on. I want face-to-face contact with somebody who knows what's going on. I need like talent acquisition manager, something orthodox, something who like can lead and is already somewhere where they already like learned something because somebody actually cared about them, unlike being left in a ditch on the side of the road in America for 4 decades. And then it goes into, there's some Southern Baptist church, some gospel that has some sex abuse investigation going on. That's at 10.03. Now that's really interesting because they have a girl there who said that she uses these words. Now, again, I don't know if this gospel and this Baptist church, I mean, are they the ones who are protecting all of the wrong things in this civil whatever, the civil uprise movement? Why are they protecting and help grow the problem to off-road and throw more people like me into a ditch? I mean, they've gotten enough power inside North America. I think it's time to lay off, like, the cover-up and, like, allowance for them. I think it's time some people need to come forward and go, no, there's some stuff that's not right. And then 10, there's a spotlight. They have Party in the USA, and they have an image of the Intrepid and what they're planning on doing this week with the Intrepid. Because Fleet Week apparently is starting, which I've never heard of. I mean, I've heard the term, but I don't have any idea what it means. I don't know how it started. I mean, even going to the museum, there was no, like, curator there or, like, guide there. It was just, like, it was walk around self-service, so you walk around looking at the pictures and stuff, but there's no real, like, there's no enthusiasm. There's no, like, orthodox there. It's just, like, this Yeah, this is what we got. This is what we were. Or this is what we are. Like, good luck trying to figure us out. I mean, like, you know how complicated, like, their level of service is, especially for someone like me, who's, like, quietly, like, yeah, I'm, like, embarrassed about the fact that you had such great opportunity and I've been left on the side of the road for 4 decades. Like, I really feel, like, really gross about all of this, but here we are at Gross Anatomy. So this is what it looks like and how they presented it this morning. Alright, this is their main focus. It's at 3.23.
The top of the show here on some breaking news from President Biden's trip to Asia. In a news conference with the Japanese Prime Minister, Mr. Biden indicated that the U.S. will step in to protect Taiwan if the island is ever attacked by mainland China. The president was responding to a question from our Nancy Cordes, who joins us now from Tokyo. So, Nancy, there's official U.S. policy, and then there's the way the president answered your question. Good morning.
Good morning to you, and there's no question that this was a major departure from longtime U.S. policy, and it means that if China were to make good on its threats to take over Taiwan, the U.S. could get pulled into a military conflict with the world's second largest superpower.
They're already flirting with danger right now.
The president's warning took regional allies and even some of his own aides by surprise. Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes. The idea that it could be taken by force, is just not appropriate.
His comments quickly drew international headlines. For years, the U.S. has had a policy of so-called strategic ambiguity when it comes to Taiwan, a self-governed island that China considers its territory. A top Chinese spokesman fired back at Mr. Biden. Taiwan is purely China's internal affair, he said. We won't stand for any foreign interference. The White House sought to soften the president's stance, claiming our policy has not changed and that Mr. Biden simply committed to provide Taiwan with the military means to defend itself. As President Biden travels through Asia, he is being briefed about the spread of monkeypox, with cases now confirmed in more than a dozen nations.
This is the one. This is the electron microscope with, I can see the strands inside. They're like beads of proteins, amino acids. They're polypeptides and enzymes and things. I don't know. They have a lot of words to categorize them. Like the specificity is not really as important for my purpose, because it's what it does once it gets into the host cell that then causes disease. Interestingly enough, when I was volunteered for the field day with my son, for his athletics, just for the day, where they let them outside and they had this nice school event, I ran into a teacher during a break where the children weren't around, and we got onto she said something about COVID, and so I said to her, I go, can I ask you a question? I said, my son and I, we don't travel. I was like, but are there people, do you know, in the district, have you heard anything, if they're traveling abroad and coming back into the school? Because, I'm frightened that maybe, his health might be at risk if there are international travelers and they bring something into the school. And she said, it's funny that you asked. She said, I do know of one such person, one such family, that's traveled several times. And I was like, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. I was like, all right, thanks. So
nations, including the U.S. Some countries are imposing 21-day quarantines for people who are infected or even in some cases just exposed. Should Americans expect something similar?
No, I don't think so. Look, we've had this monkeypox in larger numbers in the past, number one. Number two, we have vaccines to take care of it. And so I just don't think it rises to the level of the kind of concern that existed with COVID-19.
The president says he does believe that the smallpox vaccine could prove effective in stopping the spread of monkeypox, and he says the nation has a lot of smallpox vaccine stockpiled. But he says people should be careful until we know more about the spread, Gail.
I know, we're all trying to figure that out. Nancy Cordes reporting from Tokyo, thank you. Continuing the conversation about monkeypox, this virus is causing concern among global health experts. The illness is rarely seen outside of Africa, but the World Health Organization is reporting more than 90 cases in 12 different countries beyond the continent.
Now this is the WHO. The source is the WHO. It has all the way from Australia, it has Canada and United States, as well as a lot of Western Europe and up into like Sweden area, that they've already confirmed monkeypox cases. Again, I mean, is it coming through? They say that it's coming through some form of close contact, but
So far, the CDC says there is one confirmed case here in this country, that's in Boston. There have also been suspected cases rather in Broward County in Florida and right here in New York City. We asked Dr. John LaPook to take a look into this.
Monkeypox is a virus found in wild animals like rodents and monkeys. When it infects people, symptoms include fever, headache, aches and pains, fatigue, and swollen lymph nodes.
I had another report come out the other day, or another one of these, whatever these are called, where it said prairie dogs. I was like, prairie dogs? I was like, that's weird.
Within several days, a typical rash develops that progresses to raised blisters that turn into scabs. Illness usually lasts 2 to 4 weeks.
We're seeing cases happening in several countries at the same time. We've never seen that.
Anne Ramoyne, professor of epidemiology at the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health, says those cases resemble a milder version found in West Africa. But in areas with limited access to health care, that milder version can still be fatal.
It's between 1 and 3.
But what I don't understand is, if that's where the infected areas are, why is there transmigration? Why are there immigrants from places that have confirmed biological medical procedures going on? Why are their residents allowed to transmigrate and just pretend and assimilate in to populations elsewhere that would have never been exposed to it if it didn't get some kind of transportation? Who's in charge of protecting the people that are susceptible? They don't know anything. Like, where is that league of respectable, ethical humans?
3.5% in an African setting.
But in the United States, during a 2003 outbreak of monkeypox caused by an imported African rodent, 47 people became ill, but nobody died. The virus is spread through body fluids, skin, and respiratory droplets.
It's important to know that this virus really does require close personal contact.
Possible treatments include a variation of the smallpox vaccine, antiviral drugs, and antibodies. Do we have enough smallpox vaccine? Do we have enough diagnostic ability?
We definitely have enough vaccine, and we definitely have access to the antivirals and the treatments that are needed.
For now, special tests done at the CDC are needed for definitive diagnosis.
And Dr. John LaPook joins us now to discuss. John, it's good to see you.
Like, that's the thing, is that there's somebody making money off of this at a lot of different avenues and reservoirs, which really frightened me, with possibilities of how prevalent this is becoming. I'm going to go now to this mention of this midterm election, which again, local schools, where in the public school, where growing up, they allow the children to go in order to get some kind of localized education for their life. But it's not, I mean, mine, myself, and definitely what Nucci is receiving as far as public education is so poor and pathetic. I don't know what kind of career avenue he's going to be able to pursue with the lack of schooling on myself, and then lack of schooling and itemized care that he needs. And he's like one of the only ones left of what North America and Long Island used to be. Now, this is the only time I ever see the U.S. Air Force referenced. There was one other reference in Afghanistan a while back, but for here, mentioning these pallets being of baby formula.
The White House says a second flight of formula is set to arrive in Pennsylvania very soon.
Parents, hold on. Help is on the way. Americans are worried about a lot of things besides baby formula. According to the latest CBS News poll, nearly 3/4 of people have been surveyed, and they said that things are going badly in America right now, and more than 2/3 of the U.S. say the economy is bad.
Now, I know somewhere in the world, they're saying, like, you should speak well of the government or of the whatever. Right? I'm not talking badly about the government. I'm talking about local management. I'm talking about when I walk out my front door, perhaps government doesn't know just how bad local management is. Perhaps. But I'm tired of people looking the other way with that excuse.
That's an increase of more than 20% from last year.
And this is the whatever. I don't even know. MOE. Again, it's not real clear. And it's a CBS News poll, YouGov percent saying things in America is going badly, 74%. Because this is not this level of polling and reporting. While it puts negative stigma on local area managers, it's what actually is happening. So it's statistically relevant.
All of these concerns are part of the backdrop for tomorrow's primary elections around the country. Ed O'Keefe is in Atlanta covering Georgia's Republican primary, another test of former President Trump's influence. Ed, good morning.
Nate, great to see you. Inflation, certainly a top concern for voters we've spoken to here. There are 4 southern states holding contests on Tuesday, but we're here in Georgia because...
Contests? Is that like The Price is Right and Let's Make a Deal? Those kind of contests? Because again, I don't even know if it's being spoken of in an appropriate way, and there's no talent acquisition manager like here. I just get something here, and this is already a battleground of a whole nother sorts.
Because, as you said, the former president is personally involved in several of the primaries being held. Let's start with the U.S. Senate, where Trump's hand-picked candidate, Herschel Walker, the former football star, is, forgive the analogy, Nate, running away with the ball and likely to win easily on Tuesday, setting himself up for a general election matchup against Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock in what could be the most expensive and decisive Senate race this year. But the primary here in Georgia...
But now, is that inside of America? Inside of the United States of America? Because again, I'm not being represented properly. And like, the hands of justice, they've gone in the complete wrong direction my entire life. Like, what ran me off the road in semi-automatic truck, and I'm just sitting in a ditch trying to figure out where I need help because it's hard to figure this out from inside the trench by yourself.
Georgia, the former president perhaps most concerned about is the one involving Governor Brian Kemp. He's being challenged by former Senator David Perdue, who's jumped into the race at Trump's urging. Kemp is leading in the polls by large margins and remains a popular figure here. And notably, later today, former Vice President Mike Pence is going to campaign alongside Kemp in open defiance of the former president, a sign there are still Republicans across the country who believe somebody other than the former president could emerge as the GOP's 2024 presidential nominee. And remember, if Brian Kemp wins that primary as expected, he's setting himself up for a rematch with the Democrat, Stacey Abrams. Gail?
All right. Yep, we've seen that song before, too. Ed, thank you very much.
Like, that's the whole thing. Is that, like, inside information that she gets a hold of? Because, like, I don't know. I haven't been able to see that song or that singing. I don't even know where to access that level of information. Let's see. 1830. Alright, at 1830 comes on this local New York City payphone that they're now removing, referencing this Titan at 7th and 50. Also, I don't know, in the big wide world of things at last payphone, who this is in reference to. And I don't know who campaigned in order to have this last stand taken down out of the New York City area.
6:39, it is the end of an era. The city is saying goodbye to its last payphone today. The booth on 50th Street and 7th Avenue will be disconnected for good. Payphone use went down dramatically once smartphones were invented. Some payphones have been replaced by Link NYC.
There's the Titan reference.
See internet kiosks which provide free Wi-Fi and phone calls.
What are we going to do with all those telephone books now, right?
Yeah, those
Access,
things.
so we've got numbers. Now what are we going to do? Coming up, addressing the growing mental health crisis.
Haven't had telephone books for years now. They stopped printing them, and I don't know in what year. Now, at CBS 6 a.m., the local news broadcast is where that payphone reference was at 18.33, I believe. And now in the 00.24 is where this yeshiva and something else, I guess it's I don't know what it is. It's some kind of announcement.
All children deserve an education, not some children, not only privileged children, all children. Yet for many years, tens of thousands of ultra-Orthodox and Hasidic children have been denied a basic education in yeshivas across New York. Many aren't even taught English, math, and science.
It's so bad, I don't even know what the word yeshiva means. That's how bad it is. I know I'm on some form of Orthodox because I speak and I like to confer in person. So it's by ortho, it's Orthodox. But I don't know, again, even some of the words that they use in this message, I get lost in the, well, now do I qualify for that? Like, now where do I go for that? Because it says to go to this website, but it's and again, I haven't gone. It might be a static website, but there's a lot of reading involved, and it doesn't really necessarily add up to anything. Like, it just wastes time and becomes more inefficiency. And it says it's in violation of New York state law. Well, here's the thing. There's somebody that's calling herself an attorney general. Is there some kind of attorney general client privilege? And who's her client? Or is it the residents of New York State? Because that puts me in direct harm and in direct violation of my human and personal rights with the way I've been treated. And I don't think she's going to be doing the best for my own personal individual situation. There's a vote of no confidence.
in violation of New York state law. Yet government officials have looked the other way. Do you think all children deserve an education? Take action today. Visit yafed.org.
This price for
All right, at 9:35 comes on this piece about something called an SBC, which is a Southern Baptist, I guess, congregation of some sort.
Turning now to shocking claims that one of the country's largest Christian...
And it also uses this word, go spell. Yeah, I know how to spell, and go spell. What I'm confused about is why they exist in some church-like format, but yet there are some really serious violations going on with health and human services and public health and so on and so forth. And there's not this backing of the people that are trying to get word to the people who are supposed to be supporting them.
Christian denominations suppressed allegations of sexual abuse for years. A scathing new report commissioned by the Southern Baptist Convention describes decades of cover-ups within its clergy and membership and leadership. The SBC is a network of roughly 47,000 independently run Baptist churches with more than 14 million members nationwide. Nikki Batiste is following this story for us. Nikki, this was a
Now it's like, I don't want to have these things, these pillars of, like, I mean, if they're really pillars of light and pillars of salvation and pillars where people can go and have the arms of the convention, like, around them to protect them, that's one thing. But when it's been infected with some mental disease where it now thinks because of some business partnership, it's got to start defending things outside of itself rather than protecting the things within itself, that's an even bigger scary thing.
Mission Report. Good morning.
Indeed, Tony, good morning. The report alleges that claims of abuse were cataloged internally for more than a decade, with little to no follow-up or discipline for alleged perpetrators. Even as SBC leadership was made aware of accusations facing clergy, the report says its main concern was, quote, avoiding any potential liability. The independent investigation commissioned by the Southern Baptist Convention concluded that members of the group's executive committee responded with resistance, stonewalling, and even outright hostility to almost 2 decades of sexual abuse allegations against clergy. According to the report, they kept a secret running list of accused Baptist ministers to avoid being sued, even as the committee publicly claimed it didn't have the authority to create such a list. More than 400 people on it were believed to be affiliated with the SBC at some point. But the report quotes a May 9th, 2019 internal email where the SBC's then general counsel called the focus on sexual abuse, quote, a satanic scheme to completely distract us from evangelism.
Every day as they struggle.
And again, where I am, there's been no church outreach. There's been no talent acquisition management. There's no, like, this is who we are, hon. Like, you're in America. We're North American like you. This is who we are. This is how we are. And this is where your opportunity in these lands come from. This is how we work in some hand-in-hand format to protect one another. And how the founders of our nation have, like, built something to protect us. There's been none of that. Now, I don't know, I mean, the state government in New York's been infected with something that's not really looking out for my best interests either. So that gets confusing with then how is the church handling things, since there's really no church here. Like, there's some small operations, but it's not like something you can rely on for family safety. What do you need, baby doll? Yes, I'm almost finished.
Since I've come forward publicly,
Hannah Kate Williams filed a lawsuit against the SBC on Friday, alleging that she was physically abused by her own father, a pastor, for years. She says it began when she was as young as 4 years old and turned into sexual abuse on her 8th birthday. But when she sought help from the SBC leadership, she says nothing ever happened.
When I was kicked down, I was called a liar. I was called mentally deranged, incompetent, an enemy of God.
The report says the SBC used its system of granting churches autonomy to deflect
My whole thing is, which God? Why is it deranged? If I speak to a Canada like ranger or whoever our rangers are that step in when things get really bad, does that now make me deranged for trying to seek out help because things have gotten so horrible in the local area? I mean, like, where is this safety net? And where is this hand to hold of this brotherhood of man? I'm just curious how they organize themselves and how one gets in so they have arms of protection around them.
accountability for local offenders, but allegations of abuse go up to the very top, including a sexual assault claim against former SBC President Johnny Hunt, which he denied in a Facebook post Sunday night. What, as a survivor, would you like to see change?
I would like to see leaders taking the recommendations of outside experts, not as attacks on their beliefs, but as tools to protect those in their care.
In a statement, the SBC's executive committee said it was reviewing the report and is, quote, committed to doing all we can to prevent future instances of sexual abuse in churches. We also reached out to Hannah Kate Williams' father for comments, but have not heard back. In the past few months, I've spoken with about a dozen other women and men who claim they were sexually abused by Southern Baptist Convention leaders. At the time of the alleged abuse, their ages ranged from 9 to 14. Those survivors are all past their statutes of limitations, which means they can't file a lawsuit in their respective states. Each of them told me they hope this independent report will lead to accountability. And this really reminds me of the Catholic clergy abuse survivors I've spoken with in the past. And each of these survivors have said, we just want to be believed. And I think this report will finally be a step in the right direction.
It's an awful story. You know it's bad when you're suing your own father. You just don't expect to hear sexual abuse and church in the same sentence, but unfortunately we've heard this story before.
She's incredibly brave.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you, Nikki. Now to the efforts to relieve a critical shortage.
All right, and this is at 1:21. This is on the CBS 6 a.m. broadcast. The other one was on E101. It says Spotlight, Party in the USA, because that's a melody, and then it says Intrepid.
Hey, welcome back. 622 and Flea Week is back after a long pandemic pause. The 7-day celebration honoring the men and women of the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps kicks off this Wednesday. Chris and I are going to be coming to you live from the Intrepid Wednesday morning. We can't wait as the city welcomes the parade of ships. More than 2,000 members of the military are expected to visit the city, and we are really hoping for some good weather that morning. John,
if not, we're going to be in the tower.
Oh, I gotta tell you, right now it looks like clouds. So it looks like clouds, and it looks like later Wednesday we could see a shower.
We should be all right then.
I just gotta say, they have done such a great job with that, with the museum. The what they've been able to amass and collect and display, and so many programs all the time. I mean, you got to go, and you have to factor in some time. There's so much to see, and the kids love it. Big kids too. All right, clouds right now, 62.
It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. That's the difference because, again, I don't know if he gets special treatment when he goes because he's this meteorologist. I mean, like, he's got a big title in the morning forecast and the morning vocal arrangement. So I don't know if people recognize him by face and they if he has special services that he's involved with or gets, but for like the regular public, just buying a ticket or having somebody buy you the ticket and going in by yourself and just walking around, it's not as easy to maneuver, and like the grandeur of it and the importance. I mean, it's so mysterious because you don't even know like where to begin and like what's the right, I don't know, to like really make a connection to hit home. So it's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.